Match plates, not your normal casting pattern. Actually, totally is your normal casting pattern. They're used all the time, especially in professional settings, just not really on YouTube so much, which is kind of weird. The normal kind of pattern that you see on YouTube, which is you make the object that you're going to cast, ram it in the sand, remove the object. The match plate goes between the two flasks, has the pattern on it, and you ram it up. Their major benefit is repeatability. It makes the sand ramming a little easier. You can kind of go a bit quicker, and part after part after part tends to be more repeatable, which is nice. You can also get all the details molded into the match plate, like your gating and stuff. You're going to see all that. But the downside is it takes a little longer to make the pattern, which is I think why you don't see it on YouTube, because most people on YouTube make a pattern and cast it once, and that's it. But if you want to do like 100, like if you're a professional doing a job, match plates are good. So we're going to make a match plate today. So here's some of our setup here. This is the cope and drag I'm going to use. It's a small flask that I made. This is a piece of wood that I cut out to kind of match. And these were the patterns that I printed. So these are the coins. This is for that maker coin challenge thing that I'm way overdue on. And I printed these. I just printed 2 because this is a pretty small flask. But I also printed runners and gates and stuff. When you make the thing, you'll ram this up, and it'll have like the runners and stuff already cut out. I'll also be using that tapered sprue former that was sent to me by SW Dweeb, and this, which, this is a mold for a pouring basin and all that. And I'll show you how that works when the time comes when I cast these. And if you just can't wait, go watch SW Dweeb's videos. He uses both of these things, which he sent me. So yeah, just go watch his. This probably isn't typical. So my idea was I'd pour it on one side, it would fill in one of these, run through the coins, go out the other side, and I'd have some risers here, or the what are they called? Feeders, that's the term. I just edited out like 2 minutes of me staring at the wall. And I have these little holes. You might wonder, what's the deal with those? Well, those are locating pins, because you ram these up. So pretend this is on there. That's between. You got one of these on top and one of these on the bottom. Oh, it slid down. So however the panel is, that's what's going to be there. Then you take the things off, throw the panel out, stick the sand back together, and they line up. Both of these on either side of the panel have to be lined up perfect, because your casting is only as good as the pattern. So those little holes are alignment pins, so that I get both of these lined up on opposite sides of the panel perfectly. See? I'm not as dumb as I look or sound or usually am. Now I got 2 sides of this. I got the my symbol here with Paul's Garage spelled out, which probably won't show up. See? I mean, it didn't print really good, and your casting is only as good as your pattern, so it's imperfect. And this is the pouring thing. The idea is on either side, I'll have one side will be this pouring deal, one side will be this logo, focus, and good to go. This was sent to me by SW Dweeb again, and I really owe him a lot, just saying. And part of this was me, and part of this was, I think his name was SC Outdoors or something. Anyway, I took a model that he made of the logo and added it to the coin and tried using the text, and then added this, and I did all that in Fusion 360. So, free program, worth checking out. They're not paying me, obviously, and I'm not paying them either. So, it's fair trade, right? Okay, so I have determined that the hole is this drill bit? Question mark? Yes, that is perfectly tight in that hole. I'm going to line this up. I don't know what I'm going to do. Line this up so it's in from the edges, and then I'm going to have to mark the location with something. There we go. See, the thing is, all my drill bits are standard drill bits because I just got them at like Ace Hardware. And Fusion operates by default in metric, I think. So this is some number of millimeter hole. I don't even know. Didn't plug in the drill. Awesome. Now if I use that drill bit as an alignment pin, I can do this, and then if I happen to have another one, which I clearly don't, it would go in there. Bet you one of these is the right size. Oh yeah, look at that. Now with these locating pins, I can be assured they're on either side. They are not, however, glued down. And here is my glue of choice. Titebond 3 Ultimate Wood Glue. Now it's wood glue, so you think, okay, plywood, but this is 3D printed. Why? Why wood glue? Well, this stuff is awesome. It is extremely excellent wood glue, but it's good at like sticking anything together. I accidentally spilled some of this on a concrete floor once, like a smooth concrete floor. It dried, like I glued something up and it dripped down on the floor. And I thought, oh, there's crud on my floor. So I like tried scraping it up and I got a little piece up and I grabbed it with pliers and I was just going to peel it off. Well, I peeled off the top layer of the concrete. That came with. So pretty good glue. I mean, in general, this stuff is stronger than the wood. Like it's in tests I read in Fine Woodworking magazine, they glued a bunch of different kinds of wood together with different kinds of fit up. So like a loose joint and then a super tight joint and then like a normal good fitting joint. In all the cases, at least with this glue, the joint didn't break. So when they tried like bending the joint to failure, the wood broke around the glue joint, not the glue joint. Align it on my pin. I'm actually going to align it through the back side. That was dumb. No, I'm not. Now this isn't actually going to glue to the plastic as well as it would to the wood, and that's because wood is you know, porous. It soaks up this stuff, and the plastic's just going to be a flat surface. So the glue's not going to stick that well, but it's not going to be under any load. Like the only load is going to be sand pushing down into the glue joint. Wipe my finger off. So the reason I'm doing a match plate with this is because, unlike everything else that I've cast, I actually want to make a bunch of these in different metals, and you know, just make a ton of them of different alloys. And you know, you maybe send them to people, give them to people. Definitely send some to the patrons. Just hand them away and for random people on the street to freak them out. I don't know. I'll say, here, you want a bronze coin? And they'll say, get away from me, freak. And I'll go on to another adventure. Okay, those are aligned quite nicely, I believe. Now I want to bring you down here for a second, really close. The edges of this coin have draft, which means if this is the parting line here, the sides sticking up are not parallel. They go in at a few degree angle. However, the sides of this pattern here do not have draft. And in fact, in here there's some undercutting. So if you look at the sides of these, they're not like this. They're not straight up. They go straight up, and then at the top they kind of go bloop like that, and it's all gross. Looks like a little hat. Now that's not good, because the sand that's rammed in this corner will be pulled out when I pull the match plate out. And they always tell you need a little bit of draft, like a few degrees. But if it's only like 2 millimeters or 1 millimeter, you can get away with it being straight up. That's no problem. It'll just pull right out fine. But in no case can you have draft or have undercut like this. So what I need to do is take an X-Acto knife and cut those off. Now with drying, a lot of times patterns are made out of hardwood like mahogany, because it's pretty tough and it can handle a lot of reuse. And then they're varnished. People paint them even and wax them, and they look super nice. But for some reason, I have not found that to be necessary. I use Petrobond, which is an oil-based sand, and it does not stick at all to 3D printed plastic. Like, it does nothing. If I ram it down and then just jiggle it, it'll come right off. Same for wood. I don't know if that's a property of oil-bonded sand versus water-bonded sand, like normal green sand, which I'm sure would stick to wood like nothing, because wood will soak up the water. But I have not had a problem with Petrobond with oil-based sand. Now, if you remember, the flasks that I made have this sort of 3-piece of wood V-shape centering system dealy, and that is not ideal for match plates. So right away, I'm not doing this right. But there are other methods that usually have vertical pins. You know, that'll probably be better, because with this, really the only way to get the top and bottom dead centered, and these are upside down, is to have this touching this without this 1/4 inch space, because this is a 1/4 inch sheet of plywood here. So this actually shifts. See that? You don't want that to happen with match plates, because if they're shifted over to one side, and then you stick them together and they're dead center, it'll be off by like 0.5 millimeter. And you think, who cares, 0.5 millimeter? Well, these have some fine detail, and there's only a 1 millimeter edge, so if they're off 0.5 millimeter, that's a lot. So I'm probably going to need to shim these or something. So if you've made my flasks, well, not mine, I stole this design from someone, but if you copied my design that I copied from someone else, and then you're going to copy the match plate idea, be aware of that. Okay, it's the next day, and the glue has dried. See, I removed the things, and it's pretty stuck. So that was step one, centering and gluing. Now it's time to finish this a bit. So these are all kind of the same thickness, but the thing is, I don't want them all to be the same thickness. I want where the stuff pours in to be thicker, and we're going to add on to this using this nifty stuff. Not this. This! There's a bunch of different stuff you can use, but I'm going to use this because I had it on the shelf in the basement. So use what you got. It's an air drying kind of modeling clay for kids. So let's decide where we want the metal to pour in. Let's say we want it to pour in right here. So that's going to be where it pours in. I found this. It's going to pour in there. Or more accurately, it's going to pour in on the other side. So you want the metal to kind of flow in. Butterfingers. You want the metal to flow in. I got this nice tapered sprue from SW Dweeb. It's going to flow down this tapered sprue, fill this up, and fill up. By fill up, I mean like I want this to be lower than the center line. Fill that up and then spill over kind of into the coins. So that means if this fills from the underside, if it fills right here, I want this to be built up, which is where this goop comes in. Really hope this is still going to work because it's been on the shelf for a long time. Forgot I had it. And then I just found it. Fingers crossed the stuff is still good. It feels pretty good. I mean, what's this going to do? It's not going to rot, right? Doesn't have a best taste by date or something of that nature. Going to make a nice little channel, and I want it to run, if it flows in here, I want it to run past the last coin. That way this over here will act like a trap. So if there's any sand or gunk in this sort of channel, it'll get washed over here and stop. It won't get washed into the coins. Okay, now if you see, this kind of has a triangular cross section. And that's because this stuff, it's pretty soft now, but it'll dry. It air dries in a day or two. I want this stuff, every single thing that I make needs to have draft so you can take it out of the sand. Now you see this is thicker, but these channels here that fill into this, they're not. So there's actually a thin point right here where this isn't any thicker than the coins, but it's narrower than the coins. So that's a place that could freeze before the coin freezes, which would cause some problems. So this would be still liquid and solidifying, but it can't draw any more metal through there. So we want to build up like a little ramp. Remember, this is upside down, so we want the metal to kind of flow up the ramp into there. I don't think what I'm saying makes any sense, but perhaps if you see it, it will make sense. There, does that make sense? I hope. Feel like I'm a kid again, playing with modeling clay. They actually had this stuff. This stuff was invented when I was a child. I'm not that old. Now, I don't want to get the junk in the coin because I don't want to mess with the actual coin itself. I would like that very much to be cast in place. Okay, pours in there, fills over, junk gets trapped, overflows, runs into the coins, and then this is kind of like the out gate, and I'll put some risers up on the other side. You'll see that later. This, however, I want this to be in there when I ram it up. And a good way to do that is to actually put a hole right here to set this in. Now this is pretty thick, so I'm going to have to drill this a little bit bigger and bigger and bigger. Please don't screw up. Please don't screw up. This match plate is too young for me to ruin it. That is not big enough. And the reason I used wood glue, by the way, just an aside, instead of super glue, is because although super glue works really well on wood, some super glue wrecks some plastics, and I do not know if PLA is one of those. That's going to wreck the crap out of everything. Here. fits down in there. So now I'm going to build up the area around that with this. And this stuff will dry and it will harden, like I said, in a couple of days. Now, when I ram it up, I will be able to drop this right down into that little notch that I've just created. Well, I'll let it dry with it in place. I'll be able to drop this down in that notch, ram it up, then pull it out, and we'll be good. So it'll pour down, it'll run through the trough, overflow into these, out these, and then when I cast, when I remove this and the sand's up the top, I'll use this to mold like a pouring basin. You know, here's the negative, so the metal will pour into this, overflow, go down this tapered sprue, overfill the coins. Good? Good. So I can't promise that the next video will be me casting this match plate, but I can promise that the next few, well, can't promise, but the next few videos are going to be furnace stuff because I just fixed the burner in the live stream that you saw before, and I want to test out that burner before I go ahead and start casting anything. You will be seeing much more of this in the future. And I'm rambling now, so I have no sign off. Get lost.